Hello, my name is Eva, and in this video we will boost our knowledge regarding the two variants of the uEye XC camera. The goal is to understand the differences between the UVC and the USB3 Vision variant and to identify which variant is suitable for your application. Our XC camera series enjoys great popularity. With its integrated autofocus, the 13-megapixel color sensor from Onsemi, and the automatic adjustment at light conditions, it performs reliably also in case of changing object distances or varying light conditions. As you might have already noticed, the uEye XC camera comes in two variants. On one hand, with the prefix UV, which stands for the UVC standard, and on the other hand, with the prefix U3, which means that the camera uses the USB3 Vision interface and runs with our IDSP software and other GenICam compliant software. The two model options share the exact same hardware. The main difference is in the software interfaces. Before we take a deeper look at the camera themselves, let's quickly talk about the software support, as this is the key point where the two camera options mainly differ. UVC stands for Universal Video Class and is a standardized interface for devices capable of streaming video, like webcams or video conferencing cameras. Here, the cameras use an universal driver, which is installed with the operating system. UVC supports a wide range of media devices and is, for example, good if additional devices like audio, etc. need to be included. You come across these types of cameras when using familiar applications like Teams, Skype, VLC Media Player, or the Windows Camera app. The U3 version uses the USB3 Vision interface and runs with our IDSP software and other GenICam compliant software. The GenICam standard, or the USB Vision standard for this camera, is the standard interface especially for industrial cameras. And therefore it is established in all kinds of applications in the industrial context that require camera interaction. You might also have noticed in the previous slide that the UV camera has a slightly lower price. This is due to the reduced support that we can offer as it runs by the operating system's interface, while for the U3 variant, we can offer full support for both hardware and software. The difference between the software interface leads to different features and suitability for certain applications. Let's have a look at the two different variants and their possibilities. Let's start with the UVC variant. With the UV camera, there are fixed readout modes when it comes to resolution and frame rates. You can choose between the YUV and the MJPEG pixel format. With MJPEG, you can use the camera's full resolution of 13 megapixel at a maximum frame rate of 25 FPS. It has to be kept in mind that with a full resolution, the maximum FPS of 25 can only be recommended in environments with sufficient light. If the illumination is limited, a higher exposure time would be necessary, but the exposure time is limited in order for the camera to be able to reach the 25 FPS. Highlight of the XC camera series is the image signal processor, called ISP. This is an in-camera processor which provides image processing functions to control features on the camera and to improve the image quality. For the UVC variant, the automatic exposure and brightness, as well as the autofocus, are key features, next to additional options to improve the image quality like contrast or saturation. Some of these features can be seen in this table, and some of them also came with the latest firmware release for this camera, as well as the option to control the exposure manually. So don't hesitate to check out our UVC firmware update tool to update to the latest firmware 3.70 and to also benefit from these features. Let's take a quick look at the UVC variant in action. As we use the UVC driver that is installed with the operating system, no software installation is needed to test the camera. It's just plug and play. The simplest way to test the camera is probably the Windows Camera app. We can open the camera here and immediately get a camera image. When we go to the settings, we can see that there's only a very limited list of features. I have some settings for the video quality here regarding the image size and the FPS, but no other settings regarding image quality. This is indeed one thing that needs to be kept in mind when working with UVC devices. It depends on the used software which UVC features are available and adjustable. A good software to use the full range of features of the UVC camera is, for example, OBS Studio. If we open the camera here, we can access the full list of features over the properties of the camera. I have here the possibilities to also set the resolution, for example, the full resolution of 30 megapixel with 25 FPS. And I also have here the video configuration button, which gives me all the features we have seen before in the list, including the automatic exposure or the option to control the exposure and the focus manually. If you need even more flexibility regarding features and also more options to adjust camera parameters, the U3 variant with the USB3 Vision interface will be your choice. Let's switch to the IDSP cockpit and the U3 variant. With this camera option, we have the full range of features with detailed possibilities and parameterization options, as we are used to in the GenICam, or in this case, the Peak world. Let me show you only some examples for this camera. After opening the camera, I can, for example, set a region of interest for my image to only see the relevant image parts, and in order to be able to achieve higher frame rates if less data needs to be transferred to the PC. The regions of interest are also possible for auto features, like auto exposure or autofocus. This is especially helpful for more demanding environments if I can tell the algorithm what to consider when it comes to brightness and focus. For example, I can here draw a region of interest for my auto brightness. Let's, for example, choose the middle of the snowman. And now the algorithm will only consider this region to calculate the optimal brightness. I can also open the node of the camera here, where I get a full list of camera features. I have very detailed options here, for example, to set limits for the auto exposure, or to set a frame rate target to pull the frame rate up to the desired value automatically when the exposure time allows it. You can search easily for features here in the search field. What is also nice to know is that I can set a throughput limit here for my camera. This is interesting, especially for multi-camera systems, if I have more than one camera connected, to give each camera a certain bandwidth to not have too much amount of data sent over the line and to lose images. So this is a very good way to control multi-camera systems. As you can see here in the GUI, there are many more features to discover. All these features can be saved into user sets on the camera or camera parameter files on the PC. This is possible here. These files can later be reused, for example, when using the IDSP API in C++, C# or Python to program a known camera application. Let's summarize what we have just seen and jump back to the core question of this video: how to choose the right uEye XC camera. Software is a big point we have just talked about. When developing a new application, it needs to be considered if it is more convenient to work with the operating system's drivers or if it makes more sense to set up an industrial software environment. If the camera is supposed to be integrated in an existing environment, of course, this choice might not be there anymore if an existing environment already uses one of the two interfaces, UVC or U3. If you're using a third-party software, you can check on a manufacturer's website which interface they support in order to be sure to order the right camera. For the UVC camera, the support on software side is limited. But on the other hand, the integration and parameterization is very easy. The integration of the U3 variant might be a little more complex, but here we can offer full support for both hardware and our software. The next main point, of course, is the features. The needed flexibility in settings highly depends on the kind of application that needs to be solved. Depending on how challenging the application is, the basic auto features of the UVC variant might be completely sufficient. For example, if I have an evenly illuminated image and a simple monitoring application. While other applications require the more complex configuration and monitoring options of the U3 variant. We also offer starter sets for both camera variants that already include cables and tripod adapters. In some cases, it might be helpful to order a starter kit of both variants and to compare them on site. Both cameras share the same hardware, so for both the robustness and long-term availability is guaranteed. I want to highlight this point especially for the UVC variant because this is what makes this option stand out between usual webcams. Consumer webcams mostly come with a non-industrial plastic housing, hardwired cables, no IP rating and unreliable availability. The uEye UVC variant has all benefits of a webcam, but also the benefits of an industrial camera. The long-term availability, a die-cast magnesium housing, the IP30 protection rating and flexible cable options. I hope this video helps you make a decision which variant of the uEye is the best for your application and gets you excited about the XC's range of features. We also have a working distance and field of view calculator on our website for this camera type, so check out the links below this video to get more information about the camera and to place your offer. Thanks for watching and see you next time.